crooked, like King Kong shook it. I'm gonna just test the sound. I hope y'all can hear me. Let's just bring that on down. Down to down to down, down, down. What? Good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me? I don't know if my microphone's working. I'm on a different computer. So I'm on a different computer. I'm on a laptop because let me see. Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you so much. Because I'm trying to use these headphones that have a built-in mic. Just full disclosure, I'm in San Juan, Puerto Rico right now. So, and I have this laptop that I usually use for writing and work, but I don't usually use it for broadcasting. So, I'm glad it worked out. Anyway, I've been here in San Juan, Puerto Rico all week, and I don't know if y'all know about the conditions in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is basically colonized. It's a territory of the U.S. that is of high value but low priority, and of high value and low priority, and they have like rolling blackouts. So we got up this morning and the lights in the entire hotel were completely out, all the electricity. So I didn't know if I would have electricity, and this is, I think they said the second time this week the lights go out. This is just the state of being in this island nation. And one fact about Puerto Rico, I don't think Puerto Rico gets enough credit for, is Puerto Rico gave us Skinny Al Sharpton. And we don't give Puerto Rico enough props. We don't give Puerto Rico enough credit, because if it wasn't for Puerto Rico, we wouldn't have Skinny Al Sharpton. And I guess you who loved Fat Al Sharpton, now I wasn't a fan. I'm a bigger fan of Skinny Al Sharpton than Fat Al Sharpton. But Skinny Al Sharpton was a byproduct of the Vieques movement. I don't know if you know, because Puerto Rico is a U.S., they call it a terror. They have fancy names for it, but Puerto Rico is basically under colonial. What are you doing out there, James? Y'all funny acting. James out there when he's supposed to be in here. But anyway, and Skip didn't get back to me either. Anyway, there was this small, because I don't know if you know, but Puerto Rico is, I don't know if it's an archipelago. I don't know if I'm using it correctly, but Puerto Rico is not just a landmass. It's a series of islands. Well, part of a large, what I would call a archipelago. And Haiti, Dominican Republic, Cuba, they're all part of this chain of islands that you could call an archipelago that have been kind of chopped up by various colonizers from France and Spain, basically. But anyway, long story short, there's a small territory, a small island off the coast of Puerto Rico called Vieques. And Vieques was basically, like the rest of Puerto Rico, under the ownership, the dictatorship control of the U.S. And long story short, they decided to take all the people off the island of Vieques, put a little airstrip there, and use it to test U.S. military weapons. And these U.S. military weapons were top secret, so they didn't know if it was depleted uranium or any type of low-level, low-yield nukes or any type of other toxic chemicals on the island of Vieques. So back in the 90s, early 90s, when I first hit the streets of New York and I moved there and I was a young activist, there was a big movement to stop the bombing of Vieques, with a whole slew of other movements. So Al Sharpton played a big role in stopping the bombing of Vieques, and he got locked up because he engaged in protest sit-ins, all the normal stuff. But Al Sharpton decided to say, yo, I'm gonna go on a hunger strike to protest his unlawful incarceration and under Giuliani, and to protest his the bombing of Vieques. And fortunately, as far as I know, the Vieques, you can never say the military has stopped anything. Because if they say they stop, the military doesn't verify or deny. And you know anything about the U.S. military, it's like a vampire. Once it's allowed in, it never leaves. The United States military is still in Germany after World War II. The United States set up bases in Germany, in Okinawa. The United States is in South Korea for over half a century. Everywhere they go to bring democracy, they never leave. The United States is never, they say, oh, the US, I love when they say, oh, the US is like white conservatives are mad that they, even though they wanted to enter a war, they upset that Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. When the military says we're pulling out of a country, what they means is they're pulling back to territory they have commandeered. The U.S. military never leaves any country, whether they invade that country and occupy it or they are allied with that country in some larger conflict. The Germans are like, what are you still doing here? We got our own nukes. We don't need you. The Koreans want them out. The Okinawans in Japan since World War II, the Okinawans is like, get gone, Yankee, go home. That used to be a statement that I'm surprised we don't hear anymore. Yankee, go home. That was heard all over the world. That was a phrase they make whole murals and spray paints and chant, Yankee, go home. But anyway, Vieques, back to Vieques. Anyway, Al Sharpton went on hunger strike. And after he was on hunger strike, sitting in that jail cell, same prison they got Diddy in, he came out skinny, and he's like, I likes this. This is good. And he went vegan. He adopted a vegan. I don't know if he's still vegan. This is like 30 years ago, but he went vegan and all that, and that's how we got Skinny Al Sharpton. So shout out to Puerto Rico. And for some reason, my wife has been going around interviewing random Puerto Ricans to ask them if they want to be an independent state, they want to be an independent nation, or they want to become the 51st state and become an official U.S. state and have congressmen and 2 senators and all of that, or do they prefer this limbo, this colonial limbo? And to her surprise, nothing scientific about the survey. She asked our barista when we went to get our oatmeal lattes and different Puerto Rican brothers and sisters she's had conversations with. And many of them say they kind of like the limbo because they don't want to come on board with the US. They don't want the world to identify them as American. And they also think if they became America, they would lose much of their culture. Now, I ain't going to get into that. Taino, Barqueña, Spaniard, Conquistador. Y'all know my position on the conquistadors parading as indigenous, but that's a whole nother discussion. But beyond that, many of them said we prefer this limbo because we can manipulate local politics and international arena. There's certain risk, hardships, and certain benefits. But all that aside, Puerto Rico's gentrifying. Many of the population is working class and poor people are doing everything they can get out, and at the same time that there's the power grid, there's a severe imbalance. Like I say, you have facilities like rolling blackouts and the power grid is somewhat unstable. You also have these huge complexes, these luxury buildings and luxury complexes being built all over that the island really can't sustain. It's a beautiful island with diverse wildlife, and it cannot sustain these American Western consumerist, capitalist, glutton, luxury McMansion / luxury villas and luxury high rises. So anyway, it's a mess like everywhere else, but there are people struggling here like everywhere else as well. Anyway, that's it. But I'm here in San Juan. Some good food, some good people, beautiful atmosphere, and everything's working. So anyway, this is gonna be quick. I don't know where James is. I don't know where Skip is. I've been talking to them earlier today. And what's funny is about it, because James and Skips are like, yeah, we'll be through. We'll hold it down. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't have power. I don't have access to electricity. And I didn't charge any of my electronics because I wasn't anticipating the power go out. Anyway, let's move on. one more thing before the thing. You know, last week, 19 schemes, 19 schemes. But let me say, 19 Keys, the aspiring cult leader, um, and financial guru, went to walk the streets of Chicago. And it was, and I'm gonna just be honest, it was kind of sickening to me. Chicago has had a series of mass shootings, and they're starting to use mass shooting terminology for street level crimes, because normally when you look at a mass shooting, it's either ideological. Many of the mass shooters have they leave behind manifestos, or it is malcontents, people who are severely discontent with society, right? So you have the Columbine shooters; those were malcontents, those were nihilists. Life has no meaning. I'm an outcast. The one supreme gentleman, incel killer from Canada that drove the car, he was a nihilistic shooter. And then you have other shooters like the Vegas, who is the Vegas shooter, who's the number one. And I try to avoid saying these people's names. There's a whole movement saying a big part of why they do the mass shootings is so that their names can live on. So it's hard to talk about them without mentioning them. So I try to talk about the location without giving them any specific part. But the biggest mass shooter in Vegas, he had a beef with the government and domestic terrorists. Generally, they are either nihilistic people who feel that society has robbed them of their legacy or robbed them of something they believe they should have. And then you have mass shooters who are ideological, Christian fundamentalists or theological, religious fanatics, political. Um, I don't like the term political extremists, because really it tends to be that political extremists go counter to the culture, but many of the political extremists actually want to go deeper into the culture. They tend to be hyper capitalist, they tend to be Christian, they tend to be white, they tend to be heterosexual, cisgender. So you call someone an extremist, but they're an extremist to the status quo. They're not really divergent or even attacking the status quo. And they're actually attacking society because they falsely believe that society is going away, that society is becoming less heterosexual, less Christian, less, so they attack for the wrong reason. But anyway, now I'm noticing that they're calling hood and street level shootings mass shootings. And they're going to go from calling gangsters and thugs and street level criminals and start calling them mass shootings. And mass shooting, the next step is domestic terrorism. So they're going to start classifying gangs as domestic. They've already done that with foreign gangs, but they start doing that with local gangs, black gangs that have no political cause. They're not nihilistic. They actually don't want to tear down society. They want to elevate up in society. They want to enjoy the material wealth of society more so than they want to that they have some beef with society or the government or the state. So even though there are many people shot, which on the level mass shooting, but watch how they're changing the territory. So anyway, 19 Keys came here to walk the streets. And what's ironic about that is when I first moved here back in the, um, I think I got here 2008, 2009. I first moved here. When I got to Chicago, Farrakhan did the exact same thing. Farrakhan with a detail of bodyguard, Fruit of Islam bodyguard. He went to the most deadliest violent neighborhoods and walked, and he got photo ops and of him talking to the brothers. And 19 Keys is like, Farrakhan is up there in age, you know, and I see that 19 Keys is literally replicating the dress, the cadence, the stance of these old school, old guard uh, demagogues and cult leaders and black leadership. He's replicating. Do you see 19 Keys came to Chicago, James, to walk the streets, to walk the hood?
Yeah, I saw that, man. I saw that. I didn't see everything, but I did see he was here.
Yeah. You
I was
didn't
like,
go out
man,
and
look at
walk with him?
Oswald. Just look at Oswald Bates.
I went from calling 19 kilos to 19 schemes now.
Hey, he
You
reminded me
saw.
of that Damon Wayans character from The Living Color, that Oswald Bates dude from Behind Bars with that hat on, with that that Farrakhan had to just
Yeah,
get the fuck with
I
all
used to
that
hate
different.
that dude though. I didn't like that character.
Man, that shit is fitting though, because
But I knew mad cats that came out of prison that got knowledge of self in jail. And I always thought that character was kind of punching down.
it look it probably is, but it's hilarious though, because but you know what, it's to me it's a character of him though. For real, but yeah, I saw you was here, man. What are you on, man?
Well, you know about the shooting that one drill rapper, her album release party got shot up and 14 people were shot, and I think or 18, I think the number was 18 people were shot and people perished, two
Yeah, I
women,
saw
and
that.
and then there was another guy that threw a Molotov cocktail into his ex's house and kill several children, family members of his ex, and even neighbors who had nothing to do with the conflict.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's well. Anyway, Chicago violence is trending again.
Yeah,
And whenever the white folks get in trouble, they like to
and
come
we
back
eat it,
and.
and we eat it up too.
Hmm.
We eat it up too, because we posting that shit. We be posting it. We be robo posting that shit too. Like, what's wrong with us?
Yeah. So, 19 Keys came to walk the streets to um, help
Stop the
us address
violence.
stop the violence.
Man, look, bro. I hate it's this other lady too. She a right wing lady. I can't think. I think I see her on Willie D, but she talks
Clandis
about
Owens.
no Angela something, Angela Stanton or
Oh
something.
yes, yes. I'm Willie D, man. I don't know what.
It was this video. She was critiquing about. I guess it was a shootout, and she was like,
Mm.
send these young niggas, send these niggas to the war, send these niggas to war. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, y'all got all the smoke for the young niggas, but ain't got the smoke for the empire. Like, what the smoke for the empire with
Well,
all the
they
bodies
wanna they
dead?
wanna enhance the empire. If you're saying send violent young men off to war to commit atrocities, but you're not condemning the destruction of the murder of the sanctioned killers. Let me tell you something. Whenever you see a society fall down, like a society collapse or upheaval in a negative way, it's more likely sanctioned killers, soldiers and police, than it is unsanctioned killers, gangsters and thugs and petty criminals. And the fact that and the violence is predicted. Chicago and most the urban inner city violence was a predicted and desired outcome. Because the bottom line was the United States had a revolutionary uprising. And the United States, the revolutionary uprising in the 1950s and 60s in the United States was aligned with and even in some instances coordinated with revolutionary uprisings all over the world. So the United States says, listen, our system is going to beget violence. There's no violence is a fixture in this society. So since we're not willing to transform our system to reduce or stop violence, we're going to transform our governance and our policies to direct and concentrate the violence. So we can control, instead of stopping the violence, we want to determine where the violence is targeted and we're going to concentrate it where we want it to be. And that was a very conscious and deliberate act. And whenever somebody says, I want to stop violence, and they're talking to the kids and talking to the brothers in the streets, and they're not talking to the policymakers and people who control how the wealth is distributed, the people who control the layout, the zoning policies, school funding, the people who determine medical funding, medical research, and in public access to medical care for chronic diseases, mental health, acute injuries. And you're talking, if you are going to the person that is a victim or a byproduct of a conspiracy, as opposed to the person who orchestrates and controls the conspiracy, you are part of the problem. You know, the violence in the streets of Chicago is the finish line. That's the output of the factory. You don't go to the input. You know, I'm a vegan and I want to stop the mass slaughter, the industrial slaughter of animals. And I'm going to McDonald's and I'm going to the meat section of the grocery store to protest. I'm not going to the slaughterhouses. I'm not going to the cattle ranch. I'm not even going to the CEOs of the multinational corporations the big food industries that control. I'm just going to go and slap hamburgers out of the hands of people at McDonald's. That's not how revolutionary change occurs.
Right. And I don't think they care about that. I think that's respectability politics. And I don't know who ass they kissing, but it sounds like pandering to me.
Right. And, you know, you can say white folks are fond of calling places like black communities poor, black communities plagued by violence and other social ills. They'll say it's a jungle, or they'll say it's a zoo. And one thing every zoo I've ever been to has is a zookeeper. So a lot of black leaders campaign to be the zookeeper, the official black leader. So when something goes wrong, when black people want to rebel, when there's a balloon in violence or some explosion in STDs, CNN, Wall Street journals, or they want to have a congressional hearing, a lot of Negroes jockey to be the black that they call, who phone rings when it's time to talk about the blacks. And that's a very lucrative position to be in. You know, Farrakhan has a full security detail. He has a fleet of luxury cars. He has over millions of dollars in personal wealth and a couple of luxury housing stocks right here in Chicago, and I don't know elsewhere. That didn't come from Allah, you know. That didn't come from on high. You know, and many people who follow these cults are not personally wealthy enough. So those nickel and dime. So being the official, and white folks, they have their official integrationist Negro, they have their official militant, they have their official, you know, religious leaders. And so that's what people are campaigning for. And Jesse Jackson is very old. The minister is very old. The old guard is retiring or passing away. And there's a lot of new faces here in Chicago, especially, that are jockeying to be official, the official blacks, you know, that get behind podiums and get on satellite broadcast, global scale media, corporate media.
Yeah, boy, they tap dancing now, boy. They trying to, you know what I'm saying? They bucking for their spot.
Yeah, yeah. And Umar with his troubles.
He just I don't understand how you can got all this chaos behind you and you just sit in front of the camera like you ain't bothered.
I blame us, man. How the hell is Umar? Look, when Umar came here to Chicago, speaking of 19 schemes, when Umar came here to Chicago, he sold out. He went to DuSable Museum. This is a beautiful facility. Everybody support the DuSable Museum. Everybody, you know, but you go in there, they got that beautiful auditorium on the west wing of the facility. It's beautiful ground, sculpture garden. He went in there and everybody was buying tickets. Somebody called and offered to buy me a $35 ticket.
Yeah,
I
man.
didn't pay that much to go see Dead Prez.
Yeah, he
I
still
didn't
getting
pay 30.
support.
Huh?
I said, yeah, I'm amazed at the support he's still getting. Like people
Right.
still bringing him to this podcast. Like he's on recent podcasts, just giving his analysis,
And
and
y'all click
like,
on
ain't
it.
none of that shit going on with his people.
And y'all click on it. Come on. I'm ready to victim blame today. I'm sick of being
Hey,
the good guy. I'm ready
I
to
don't watch.
victim blame.
I don't watch it unless somebody else posts it.
That's still engagement. Y'all, Charleston wish he was white. Ollie, Dr. Fubar, y'all, and Yvette Carnal, y'all, y'all lifting all these scumbag. Let me think of a better word. Lifting all these questionable characters up. Even the people that hate them, even the people that claim they don't like them, for as much hate as they get, they already got the corporate media. Because I try to imagine that for white folks, if I was able to hand select the prominent members of their community, if I was able to manipulate the online algorithm to push forward, because it wouldn't be Joe Rogan, you know, it wouldn't be Charlie Pierce, it would be all the white anarchists, the white vegans, the white communists, and I was able to boost them and make them the most prominent voices, and then white folks clicking on who I picked. And everybody claims to disagree and hate these people, but they are, like Dr. Fubar likes to say, the most requested.
Well, I don't listen to Umar stuff unless, like I said, but I do think people do like his analysis.
Analysis is not made to be liked. The purpose of analysis is not like or dislike.
Yeah, but I think he gets a lot of attention because of his racial analysis when it comes to
Black women.
yeah, and
Yeah,
relationships
and that is
like
shame
that.
on black women. Let me tell you something. Like I said, today I'm victim blaming. Shame on any black woman. How the hell can you make a man who has utter contempt for women in general and black women? He has contempt for black women. He has put many black women in compromised and dangerous positions. And you let him be literally the mascot for the love of black women. And y'all think those memes of, oh yeah, you date a white girl, Umar gonna call you out. The greatest service Umar could do, Dr. Fubar, I'm sorry, the greatest service Dr. Fubar could do is go marry a white woman and get the hell out of our movement, get the hell out of our community. You hear about the woman from Kansas City, my hometown. He's going toe to toe with a sister from Kansas City. Now, Fubar got to stop playing, man. Kansas City folks don't play like that. But
Nah,
he's literally online saying a woman's vagina smells like fish. It smells like a fish tank. Her coochie smells like an octopus. You should hear how this 50-year-old man is talking. He's our age.
wait, I thought he was abstaining. I thought he was protesting the Punani or something. Or
He was pretending to be abstinent back when the conscious stripper called him out a decade ago.
yeah, what happened? Something over back shots. Liberation over back shots, or something he was saying.
He's a bold-faced liar. Dr. Fubar, King Kong consciousness. Y'all gave him $1.6 million to open a school to help raise y'all kids. Black men are following his protocols. Man, y'all, but I can't.
And then he wound up with some smelly stuff, huh?
That's what he claimed, but it only got smelly when she came out and said that he was a hoarder living in filth and not properly caring for, attending to his mother. So ain't nobody in here with me. Why are people asking me questions? Oh, you know what? I'm looking at this plug. The plug was coming out the wall, and I'm like, should I reach over and plug it in? But now, crisis averted. Man, y'all watch closely.
You under surveillance, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate the attention to detail. Real talk.
What's up with all my chat room friends? What's up, y'all? KJ, what up, bro?
The feds don't have to come get me. I'm going to be trying to fly back to the mainland in a few days. They just pick you off at the airport. To the right? I don't know. There's no one in here with me. In fact, but I have to go. But anyway, let's talk about something, right? I'm in San Juan, Puerto Rico, right now for the next. I've been in San Juan, Puerto Rico all week. Um, are you building generational wealth? Are you-
Man, I've been trying, man. That shit hard as hell.
How you trying? They got so many gurus out here. You're not following 19 schemes?
Man, look, Joe,
Wall Street trapper,
My little
earn your
bag,
leisure.
My little bag didn't last me, man. You know what I'm saying? So I couldn't make it to the. I didn't get a chance to make it to the Black Wealth business class,
So
man.
you don't want to be rich.
You know what? No, not right now. Not no.
Yeah. So you ain't building generational wealth. Well,
No, I'm trying though, man. I'm you know,
I think the almost
I got to start my
uni-
401k back up.
well, I think that like I know this whole push, which we said before, this whole push for generational wealth was a scheme, a COINTELPRO. It was part of the larger COINTELPRO. You know, there was a saying back in the day, they can't lock us all up. They can't put us all in jail. So they were saying if the revolution and revolutionary fervor became wide enough, the system did not have the resources to quell a mass uprising. And they knew that you had the white left and the white, you know, like as I mentioned before, anarchists, white communist, uh, and white, just a general larger white left, white progressive, white radical unionist. And then you had black, several factions of the black liberation and black non-alignment struggle and the black separatist movement all over the United States. And there really genuinely wasn't enough jail cells and or really enough state resources. And you had several instances where the community would rise up, not even in an organized fashion, and the police, the local police would call in the state troopers, they would call in the National Guard, and they would always have to rally. And they could quell uprisings if they were sporadic and isolated. But if there was a universal uprising, they couldn't do it. And they couldn't bomb us all, even though they had the means of mass slaughter. But the problem was you needed the masses of the people, you needed their labor. You think Jay-Z wash his own dishes? Do you think Jeff Bezos uh, chops his own firewood? Like the wealthy elites are the most dependent people. So the greatest risk to the elites are the workers, and the greatest asset of the elites are the workers. And so they said, we can't just keep assassinating, incarcerating, framing, and all this. We have to change their mentalities. And the African masses would never go back. This it didn't just happen to us, but I'm talking about us. White folks went through their own version of this. But they said, well, when you had black people formulating movements saying we want to elevate our people, how do you get them from saying we want to elevate our people, we want to elevate our community, we want to bring down the system, to saying we want to elevate? I need to secure the bag. My loyalties, my mission doesn't extend beyond me and my offspring, me, my offspring, and maybe my parents. How do you get people who had a collectivist drive for freedom to have an individual drive for wealth? And every day I see this drive for wealth or becoming more and more prevalent, even amongst the so-called conscious community.
Man, I don't understand it either. It's like it's some type of, I don't know, man. It's annoying at this point. Like it's
But
like we leveling the playing field with that shit or something. Like I don't get the. I mean, I understand everybody need, and I've been contemplating this myself, like, because I'm really tired of, you know, working this 9 to 5. But I understand, right? If I have to get out on my own, it's gonna, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna start harassing some of y'all.
Well, but the issue is whenever, like you saying, um, all of us are overworked and undercompensated. Of all, I know a lot of people personally. I have a big family, and out of all the people I can think of that I know anything about their circumstances, I could probably count on one hand the number of people who get compensated properly for the amount of work they do.
And I think that's where it is. I think that's where the thing could come in. At. I think people think they are free when they own their own business, when they work for themselves, and they feel like they not working for the white man. So it's a sense of empowerment.
But how are you not? What business can you have where you're not working for the white man? Name a business.
Man, bro, I don't know. You hit me to that because right, I've been having this conversation, you know what I'm saying, for years. But I come to the realization, right, even if you do that, if you still adopt capitalism, then right, you're not. I mean, come on now, like
Right.
you playing games if you feel like because you got your own
Right.
business, you not, you know, you didn't adopt the system. So
Right. And it's like most people are overworked and undercompensated. But when we look at and this was crazy to me because when I first got my union card, I was a member of the 1199 union. I was so excited when I went to the Manhattan offices. I went to the Manhattan. I worked in East Elmhurst, Queens, and I was going to work. I joined the union, and then they gave me a union card, and I got the union schedule. And I ran to the union, and there were thousands of people. And when they had a union meeting, there was less than a dozen people there. And all they would talk about at the union is job security and benefits packages. And I asked my local union rep, why don't y'all teach about union history? Because the average person in the United States believes that the benefits that they derive from the system. I make enough to take care of myself, your income, your job security, your opportunities for elevation. Everything that the average person in the United States had came as a result of relentless struggle against capitalists. Everything. And they're crediting capitalists. Not only do they credit capitalists with whatever they deem valuable in their lives. I got an iPhone. I got a nice truck in the driveway. I got my own house. I own my house. Hell, I'm able to start my own business. Everything they have was secured in relentless, bloody struggle against capitalists. But they give all the credit to capitalism and the capitalists, and they aspire to be capitalists themselves. And when they aspire to be capitalists, whatever level of success, when they share it on social media, I just started my own business. I just put my down payment. I just secured a loan from the bank. Or I just, pay myself. I'm my own boss. We're celebrating, mimicking our oppressors. And I asked the union rep, y'all don't teach labor history. Y'all don't teach I said you do a disservice because all the hey, you sign up for the union, they can't just fire you. I don't like this job anyway. You sign up for the union, you get benefits. And I'm like, these benefits should be universal to all people who work, whether you're a member of the union or not. So anyway, it's our intelligence has been countered, you know, and counter our intelligence of the human, our political IQ more than anything has been so low.
yeah, bro. I man, we don't have conversation. Yeah, bro. We've been undeveloped and miseducated, undereducated, all that, man. And I'm seeing it now with the little information that I'm processing. That I'm seeing is like Yeah, bro.
Right.
We gotta.
Right. Because the thing is, if you're at your job, like they're not paying me enough, and it's just for all the other legitimate complaints any worker has. And the idea is, I'm going to go start me a business. When literally in 1925, in the early 1900s, 100 years ago, if a worker was in a mine, was in a factory, was out in the field, and he's like, this shit ain't right, I'm going to link up with the next man who's being exploited, and the next man, and the next man, and the next person that's being exploited, and we're going to form us a union. We're going to have us a wildcat strike, a sit down, or we're just going to follow the boss man home and club him. It's irrational to say I'm under a bad condition that is replicated across millions of other people, and I'm going to go it alone. When the greatest asset that the workers have is their massive numbers, and we've surrendered the greatest asset in this pursuit of wealth and the lie that any and everybody can get rich, and that there is some type of formula or there are a series of behaviors and actions that I can engage in to become personally wealthy. And not only is there a formula for me to get personal wealth, once I get that wealth, I can pass it on to my offspring and it will last generation after generation. When everything in American history and with everything in capitalism says that is the biggest lie, you are more likely to die in the class you were born in than you are to get wealth. And they have obliterated class consciousness and elevated class traders. And we've fallen for the oldest trick in the book. You know.
Yeah, man. I saw a question today, man. Like, what we gonna do with our traders, man? How should we handle them?
First, we have to identify who the hell is the trader. People will call me a trader. You don't believe in God. You don't worship Allah. You're a trader. So to be in a position to engage in what is called intelligence, espionage, surveillance, data collection, and data analysis. Because even when you talk about traders, somebody be like, oh, he's dating, or this woman's dating a man out of his race. So that's a trader. In order to have a trader, you must have an established identity, established agenda, established protocol, established standards. You have to have a culture, not, oh, the music I listen to and the clothes I wear, that's my culture. No, how I identify, sustain, and relate to the greater world, real culture, not this commercial culture, before you can have traders. Because if you just say, yeah, we need to deal with traders, Farrakhan called Malcolm X a traitor and bragged about dealing with him like a nation is supposed to deal with traitors. So I identify traders. I do think we have traders amongst us, but if we are supposed to develop protocols and protocols for dealing with traders, first you need to define what are people betraying. What is being betrayed? So I, as a revolutionary Pan-Africanist who seeks liberation and the dismantling of Western hegemony or white hegemony and capitalism, who I would define as a trader is completely different than a ADOS or foundational Black American. You know.
No, I think you got probably the best policy I've seen. You know what I'm saying? What you call it? NNSCP
New
exposed.
Negro Self-Exposure Protocol. Yeah.
Yeah, because see, I just beat them up. I want to beat them up, but I think you got the more civilized approach.
Yeah. But again, how would you define it?
Well, I think what I was looking at earlier, and I don't. Okay, the person in mind right now, and I don't think this is the question to the person that I was that I was reading earlier, but it's this cat called RG3, and there's a lot of cats online bashing him because he's bashing this black basketball player named Angel Reese because he's called her a monkey, and
Jeez.
he's trying to juxtapose his wife. The way this article wrote it was like he's trying to juxtapose his wife to black women. Like, this is how demure and submissive his wife is compared to the loud obnoxious black woman. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just a lot going on there. But
Wait,
they can
so you
classify
got to
him
catch me
as
up. Who is Angel Reese?
she's a she was the lady who in college had the little rival with the white girl.
And what did RG3 say about her?
He called her a monkey.
And RG3 is a black man. Is he a
He,
ball chaser?
he was, yeah, and he's married to a white lady, and I think he's only been with white women. And he has a lot to say about black women. He's always bashing black women, and she's just the specific black woman at this point. But in general, he bashes black women in general. But Angel Reese is the
But
target
it
of
says here that Reggie shared a meme of her as a monkey and said it was racist. So he was challenging that. Am I wrong?
well, you know
I
what?
don't. This is brand new to me.
Well,
I I I, I hate these ball chasers and I hate the ball chasing
I saw a
industry.
clip of Shaq saying that he's gonna slap dude if he kept talking crazy about her or something like that.
Oh, Shaq's our champion now. Gorilla Dad.
So
Oh my
Abraham,
goodness.
you got more context to this because it was so it was an, so it was an attack on her.
But Shaquille O'Neal calls himself a gorilla. Gorilla. Shaquille O'Neal put out the Gorilla Dab challenge and would do the gorilla dance. So now he's mad. So I
I
can't.
see. I could be wrong, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
see
really
that
keep
he
up
said.
with these info.
Uh,
I just saw the little clip about what was said, but that is what's going out there.
so Shaquille O'Neal is the Gorilla Dab. He's our champion to protect the dignity. Oh, sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, I know but that's in a positive sense, though. You know what I mean? That's not
It's
like
he's a positive. He said whenever he goes to the zoo, and then he had white people doing the Gorilla Dab challenge. And so now he's gone from being a gorilla to so he was happily allowing the mainstream media to call him a gorilla, and now he wants to fight that vicious gorilla monkey. Okay. All right. Okay, y'all.
But my point wasn't necessarily in the details of the story. My point was that I think we consider RG3 a traitor. You know what I'm saying? Because of how he positions himself. He uses all these respectability politics. He's trying to be a good little boy. You know what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
so, I don't know if that's I'm trying to see, right? Does that classify as him being a traitor? Because he's not beholden to any other policies or any other principles that we set down or that, what I'm saying, we would follow. So definitely he's over there. So he's not beholden to anything. So, but I still look at him as a race traitor. You know what I'm saying? Because of how.
Yeah, if what you the accusations, and like you said, I support the self-exposure protocol, the new Negro self-exposure protocol. I I would say people's own position stances and what they articulate should be convicted, as opposed to any, slander or accusations leveled to them against them by second or third party. So yeah, that would be if what he's saying. But I'm hearing different things about that. Uh, but it's
Well, no, he
yeah,
exposed
I saw
himself.
the whole. I remember the whole agent. First of all, we shouldn't be involved with ball chasing. The $40 million slave, the whole industry of pro and college sports is so horrendous that I think that it extracts so much from the black masses and gives back, takes way more from us than it ever gives us. And so I would just say if it would be nice if black people could find different types of outlets. But
Okay, so what about Hakeem Jeffries?
what about him? The Zionist?
Could he be considered a traitor? Because right at one point he wasn't a Zionist. He was dashiki wearing, social justice warrior. You know what I'm saying? And then somewhere down the line, he flipped and started taking Zionist money.
Yeah. Yes. I think any person who supports the Zionist project um, could be considered a race traitor. And beyond Palestine, Zionist is one of the biggest funders of massacres and supporters and arms massacres throughout the African continent, throughout the African apartheid. The number one ally of South Africa was Israel. And the South African apartheid regime would have fallen decades before it did, if not for the support. And many South African freedom fighters, including Mandela, were set up by Mossad, and the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence, was giving info to um, the South African authorities in identifying who and where in order to quell the uprising and rebellion. So throughout Africa, if you are finding like various massacres, Israeli outside the United States is the top small arms distributor across the globe. So yes, the Caribbean, if we just, I mean, Palestine, of course, is the main crime, but if you could just see the scale, even inner city, like urban policing has been turned into a science by the Zionist state. And many US police officers go to Israel to train on how to surveil and suppress an urban population, because that's all the Gaza Strip and the West Bank are ghettos. So the Bantustans, it's a Bantustan, it's a ghetto, it's a reservation, it's a concentration camp, and they've developed and developed technologies and techniques for suppressing um, under-resourced, exploited populations in dense urban settings. So, our black ghettos in America is using Zionist Israeli methods, techniques, strategies, and technologies to suppress our communities. So the Zionist project is not limited to Palestine. It's not limited to Palestinians. And then Palestinians been trying to inform the world of that, because a lot of times people won't even wake up to something till it hits home. Like Ice Cube was saying back in the day, you say Africa, I stare at you. We ain't got it too good in America. And black people really think we can build up black folks in America and ignore the plight of African people in the Caribbean, Central South America, and the African continent. At the same time, we build ourselves up based on our American citizenship. That is a suicide mission. Oh,
Yeah, I don't get how I don't get how we feel like. Yeah, man. All right, man. Whatever, man. Like, man. Like this, it's tired, man. Like, how you feel like they attacking all the black populations around the world, but they gonna leave us alone right here because we strong and we American.
because they have a
Get the
social
fuck
security
out of here.
number. Yes, yes. But look at how Hitler dealt with. Uh, there were a lot of Germans, believe it or not, who believed that a lot of Jewish Germans who believe that because they were Germans and they spoke German and they adhered to, and in fact, um, all of Europe was anti-Semitic, right? Spain was probably one of the top anti-Semitic countries in the world prior to Nazi World War II. If you say, well, if you had asked the average European or Westerner, what nation is going to rise up and embark on a campaign of genocide against Jews? They probably would have told you Spain or Italy. Many of these places had pogroms and blood libel, and the Merchant of Venice. Go look that up. And so German Jews were some of the most integrated Jews and were some of the most secular Jews in all of Western Europe. I mean, even Russia had a long history. The one who saved the Jews from the Holocaust, which was communist Russia, had a long history of persecution of Jews. Anywhere you find Christ, the Christ killers. But anyway, many Jews in Germany, when the Third Reich was coming to power, because they were capitalists and merchants, the Nazi Socialist Party was very pro-business. And a lot of them thought they were exempt because, oh yeah, he's going after the Cossacks, he's going after the Slavs, he's going to Poland, Krakow, he's going to all these foreign people. But I'm a foundational German. I'm a foundational Jewish German. I'm a foundational German Jew. I'm a German descendant of Abraham. I'm a German descendant of Abraham. And they were, many of them were caught off guard, long story short.
Yeah, they think they'll get a limo pulled up to their crib so they can get
Yes.
to the gas station.
Yes.
Think they
And you
going
got
somewhere
black
special.
people in the United States who will watch the way the United States is supporting um, extermination campaigns in Sudan, uh, exploiting the ecocidal uh, exploitation of Congo. Still, how the United States has continually invaded, occupied, and eroded the infrastructure of Haiti, or all of the Caribbean. African people will sit up and kick their feet. Not only will we watch it, we'll enlist to go help aid it. And we think, well, I got a social security number. I got a US passport. So they're not talking about me. When Trump says they're eating the cats and the dogs, he's just talking about the Haitians. And they're already going after, and then there's black people who believe that when they go after the 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship, they think, oh, they can't make it retroactive. Because if they up in birthright citizenship and make it retroactive, then you and I and all the ADOS and FBA also lose our citizenship. And they could just be like, well, don't worry, you can reapply. And if you don't have any crimes, you're not a criminal, you don't have any debt, unpaid debts, you got a 815 credit score, just fill out this application and we'll reinstate your citizenship. But if you've done a crime, and then there'll still be Negroes who's like, I got good credit, I got me a degree, I ain't got no jail record. They were like, oh, well, it doesn't have to be a crime if you've ever had a civil case or a parking or traffic violation. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm out of
they
here.
always level up. Right. But the thing is, these people they always level up. That's the thing. But there will be people, there were victims of the German World War II Holocaust who were in denial as they sat behind the barbed wire, as they were being marched. They were like, something's got to change. Something's going to give. Hitler will realize the error of his ways. Or he ain't talking about me. He's talking about them. I'm not Orthodox, you know.
Bro, I'm so tired of seeing these Negroes wave this goddamn 14th Amendment around. Do they wrapping themselves in the 14th Amendment like they untouchable with this shit? Like that's
well, they want to deny it
to
but they want to deny birthright citizenship, even though they have birthright citizenship and their children have birthright citizenship. The only people in this country that have inalienable rights were the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. That's it. That's when those words were written, that's who it applied to. And after decades and centuries of struggle, they've expanded the rights, but the rights weren't given by God. The rights were given through policy, through legislation, through enforcement, penalties and incentives. So as the penalties, incentives, the policies and rights are retracted, you think the rights just gonna stay there? But that's a whole nother discussion. All I'm saying is
Yeah, these
generational
people
wealth
supposed
is
to
a
be
scam.
politically and historically, competent. Supposed to be, knowledgeable, man. And
Yeah,
I don't know how they just look right over that.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
sad.
anyway, generational wealth, and a lot of German Jews had generational wealth that exceeded
Oh,
the average the
I
average
forgot. Generational
white
wealth
German.
is built with life insurance policies. Get everybody out there, get y'all a life insurance policy.
Right. Well, to be honest, I'll leave with this because I got this lady came out to take me to dinner, so I gotta
Who?
get it. I'm in Puerto Rico, man. What happens in Puerto Rico?
You said some lady, man. Hold
Yes.
on, man. You better get
Listen, that's how I'm living, man. International. Oh shoot. Okay, my
Hey, what's
wife.
up,
Shit.
Erica?
I'm trying to.
How you doing, Miss
Uh,
Rico?
okay. Anyway, I didn't say whatever. Okay, let's just wrap this up so I can go get me something to eat. But here's the thing: as the best thing we can pass on to our offspring is collective culture, ideology, and agenda. That's it. Because anything else is up for grabs. And I don't care if you got Jay-Z money or you just got uh, uh, highly skilled, educated, professional money. The rug is there and they can pull the rug. How many industries have been upended? How many times we're going, oh, learn a trade, what they call STEM, go learn the code, and every single time, work the rails. Oh, you get a good rail job, get a lumber job. The only thing stable in this economy is warfare and racism. And so telling your children the only consistency in this Western economy, capitalist economy, warfare and racism. So even if your child is winning, even if you can give your child the bag, which, hey, I'm not telling you don't leave your children nothing, but just understand we need to redefine wealth. White people are rich not because they're rich. They're rich because they define what wealth is, and everybody else has to. And the way that they've defined wealth is that anybody that's not them that pursues wealth has to enrich them in their own pursuit of wealth. Michael Jordan, how many white folks had for Michael Jordan to become a billionaire? How many executives, lawyers, and NBA bureaucrats got rich from his pursuit of wealth? So every one black person you see that's wealthy in this country, it's at least a dozen white folks on his back. And you cannot say, well, I'm gonna do independent until it ain't no more enslavers on the face of your currency. You cannot talk about economic independence. But anyway,
Indeed, man. We got to get the Princess Amunda face on the currency, man.
well, I now see I hate to say that because now folks are like, okay, let's get Harriet Tubman on the dollar. So when I say the oppressive in a fiat currency, the state, money is tied to the state. So if you do not have control over the state, the systems and institutions and the infrastructure and the resources of the state, money is born out of that. So the face is the symbol, but if you don't control the state apparatus, the state infrastructure, the freaking military, the manufacturing, the raw materials, if you're not making decisions about that, you could be the best ball chaser in the world. But the people extracting the rubber, extracting the cotton, that control the vast cattle ranches where you get the leather and control the vast plantations and cutting down the rainforests to grow the grain, to feed the cattle, to extract the leather. Jordan don't own or control none of that. And then the military that stops the communist guerrillas from rising up and overthrowing the third world dictatorship that allows for the exploitation and the extraction of wealth. That's where wealth is. Everybody else, including the black billionaires, are bottom feeders. You know, we play Monopoly, but where do they manufacture the Monopoly boards? You know,
But they got their own business. They in business for themselves.
and I got nothing against that, but I really think it is a COINTELPRO win. It is a COINTELPRO success story that we have so many black people not just talking about, but aspiring to generational wealth. And we never took time to really define for ourselves what generational wealth is. We just took Europeans' definition of wealth and generational wealth and try to superimpose it on ourselves. You know, and I say this all the time. We love talking about cultural appropriation. And we look at how white folks, a white girl in box braids as cultural appropriation, a white dude with his hat on backwards and baggy jeans trying to beatbox, cultural appropriation. But the real tragic cultural appropriation is black people embracing capitalism, black people embracing Christianity, Islam. You know, when in the real appropriation that harms us. Well, yeah. Let's wrap this up, man. I'm tired. I'm a little jet lagged. I'm out of my element.
Now, bro.
Well, it's over. Let's just
they don't
pretend.
Get that.
Delete that last footage.
Correlation, though, bro.
I'm just saying, cultural appropriation goes in two ways, and maybe you could say, well, we're not appropriating their culture because we don't have power. But that's even worse. We volunteering to adopt it. So no, it's not really appropriation. It's imposition, cultural imposition, because we can't really go take shit from them because they got the nukes. But when they deliver and they offer it up, we enthusiastically receive it. But I'll call it cultural imposition. You know.
Okay. We can go with that new terminology.
Yeah, let's end cultural appropriation and cultural imposition. James is saying good night to you, Erica. He can't hear me because she said good night. All right, y'all. Like, share, subscribe, do all the algorithmic stuff. Thank y'all for showing up. Next time we definitely gonna get into some Q&A because I know some of y'all bag chasers got a lot to say about what we said.
See y'all Friday.
Right. And
Friday we on?
Yes, next Friday we'll be on, and maybe you can. Let me tell you this: if we don't get to Q&A, if you leave any specific questions, in the comments, we'll start the next Friday show dealing with the comments that are shared in the comment section for this show. 7 o'clock next Friday for the rat. Wait, what's today? Wednesday? I'm tripping. Today is Wednesday. It's not Friday. Why you say the word Friday?
Because I'm asking, are we on Friday?
Yes, Friday night. Yes.
Okay.
We're on Friday. So yes, let's do that. Okay, we'll start Friday with the questions from here, and then we'll just kind of move. See how that works. People can leave the kind of question in the comments because we don't know. No, it won't be Eastern time. It'll be Central time. All right. So you have a good night, man. It'll be peaceful now that 19 Schemes has come through Chicago and walked the streets of Chicago with his divine, radiant energy. You can sleep peacefully in Chicago tonight.
Yeah, we won't hear no gunfire tonight, man.
Exactly. The streets of Chicago have been blessed. It has been paved with gold. All right, bro. Peace.